Well, at this point, Diddy's indictments have been unsealed. So we all know he's been charged with sex trafficking and racketeering. Up until this point, the majority of the news has been about the salacious details, the sex videos, the freak-offs, the 1,000 bottles of baby oil that were found in his home. That's all well and good, but what I'd like to do is focus on the legal terminology in the indictments to put some context into his conduct so we can look at what conduct's illegal and what conduct is not illegal. So join me in a legal deep dive of the terminology in Diddy's indictments. What's good, people? Welcome to Legal Deep Dive, where mi casa is su casa. Well, for those of you that saw my prior videos on the Diddy investigation, everything I predicted was correct. My prediction on him being indicted, the nature of the charges, the types of things they were looking for and would find in his home, all of that came true. And I'm not going to sit here and say I hate being right, because actually I like being right. But just so we're clear, it's not just for the sake of being right, but it's good for me to know my legal instincts are still on point. Now, in preparing to analyze or defend any criminal case, especially one of this magnitude, it's always best to start with the fundamentals, go back to the basics, look at the definitions for the crime for which he is accused. So what I want to do is take the legal technical terminology in the indictments and put them in the context of plain and ordinary meaning, what I like to call layman's terms. So let's start with the sex trafficking. Well, obviously we all know what sex means. Well, most of us do anyway. That's the easy part. The next part, the next term is trafficking. And basically trafficking is just buying and selling and dealing with some illegal product in large quantities. That's what trafficking is. But it has to be something illegal. For example, buying and selling 10,000 bottles of baby oil on Amazon, that's not illegal. And if it's a product or a service that's illegal, it's got to be in a high volume, pretty high quantity. So for example, let's say a man goes to a sex worker a couple of times a year or 2 or 3 times every few years. Although the act and the conduct is illegal, it's not a substantially high volume, so it's not going to amount to trafficking. Now, when you engage in illegal activity and you're making a profit and you're running it like a business, that's racketeering. And you know what that means is you have employees, you have structure, you have procedures in place, you have all these people doing illegal things for you, you're paying them, they're making money, and they're making money for you doing all this illegal activity. That's racketeering. So for example, a car thief stealing a car every couple of years or every couple of months, that's not racketeering. But you have a team of car thieves around the country and there's a structure in place where they know what kind of cars to steal. And once they steal the cars, you got a network of people that will paint the cars different colors and change the VIN numbers. And you got a chop shop in place to sell the parts off. That's racketeering because you're running it like a business. So basically, they're alleging Diddy was like a pimp. And the illegal product he was dealing was sex. And he had a business in place, he had employees, he had properties all over the country, he had airplanes, and he would pay for sex. He would pay women to have sex with him, pay women to have sex with his business associates, pay women to have sex on videos. He was being like a pimp, except he was doing it on a large scale, flying them all over the country, paying for sex. So let's talk about what's not a crime. Now, whether you agree with it or not, it's not a crime for men and women to engage in freaky sex parties on video and go to freak-offs and jump in bathtubs full of baby oil. As long as it's of their own free will and long as it's consensual, that is not against the law. Now, on the other hand, it is against the law for people to engage in these sex activities because they're being paid to do so. It's also against the law if people are engaging in these sex activities under duress, or if they're being coerced, or they're being blackmailed. It's also a crime if people are engaging in sex activities because they're threatened with harm or physical violence. Those categories of conduct do constitute a crime in any jurisdiction. Now, how will all this play out at trial? I gotta call it like I see it. For the charges involving sex workers and people that were paid to have sex, he's gonna have to take it on the chin and prepare for a conviction. I mean, the sex workers don't have the same credibility issues that other people claiming to be victims have. Sex workers aren't claiming to be victims. They're just saying, hey, I was doing this because I got paid. I was there voluntarily. I don't have a lawsuit. I'm not trying to be a part of the circle. They flew me in to do something. I did it. I got paid. It's all good. And they don't have any credibility issues. They haven't filed lawsuits. They're not claiming to be victims. So it's kind of hard to argue that they're lying or have something to gain by their testimony. And I can guarantee you, whether you like it or not, there are people that will voluntarily engage in his freaky sex parties for various reasons. Sometimes they just want to be in his inner circle. Some people think it may help their career. Some people want to be part of the lifestyle. Those are all reasons where people can do that voluntarily, and it's not against the law. And just so we're clear, if Diddy tells someone, hey, if you don't participate in my freaky sex videos, I'm gonna put you out of my circle, that's not a crime either. Now, how will all these factors play out at trial? Well, I gotta call it like I see it. For the allegations involving sex workers, people that were paid to have sex, that had the sex voluntarily, he's going to be taken on the chin and prepare for a conviction. The sex workers, they don't have the same credibility issues that some of the other alleged victims may have. They're not claiming to be victims. They're not filing lawsuits. They're testifying and giving statements saying they were there voluntarily for the money, that they are sex workers. They're paid to have sex. They weren't looking to be a part of the circle. They were showing up to have sex to get a payday. And it's hard to attack them because they don't have anything to gain by lying. And they have documented histories they can establish and prove indicating they're sex workers, and it's what they do. So for those charges, he's going down. Now, for the charges where they're alleged victims that are claiming they had sex under threats and coercion, depending on the number and assuming there are no minors involved, he actually has a fighting chance against those charges. But we'll talk about that in the next video. So, do you think Diddy is running a criminal enterprise? Do me a favor, post your comments and call it like you see it. That's it. Well, that's all I got, but I do appreciate you taking the time to join me on this legal deep dive. I think it's always fun to discuss these topics, tell you what I think, and get your feedback. I would really appreciate it if you took the time to like the video, subscribe to the podcast, and also I'd appreciate you sending me your comments so we can discuss the topics you want to hear about. That's it.